I'll give you two stories about Katt and Dave, two different stories. So back in, it's probably 2000, before Katt had got on Friday, nobody knew who Katt was really back then. And it's just the time when we were all coming up. So I was hosting the same Monday night that Dave and D-Ray for a while that they were rotating hosts. I remember at one point, Speedy, if you know Jamie Foxx, Speedy's one of Jamie's good friends. And then it went to Corey Zooman Miller, and then it went to D-Ray. So at one point, they were rotating hosts back in like 2000. And I got asked to host it for a month. So 4 or 5 weeks I hosted it. So the first 3 weeks that I hosted it, I realized every time the show would start, one, it was an industry room. So a lot of people, it's kind of a bougie room. It can be. And people were coming in late. And I always felt like the first 1 or 2 comics, they were up against it. Because I was like, man, this crowd comes in late. They're kind of going up as people were coming in. And then as the later it got, the better it got. And I noticed that the first 3 or 4 weeks. So I go on stage. Katt's going first on this night. And I go up there. I said, hey, so this is going to be like the Super Bowl. It was the year that the Rams and Titans were in the Super Bowl. And I hosted the day after the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl. And I said, hey, this show's kind of like the Super Bowl. It might start slow, but as it keeps going, it gets better and better. And I can see how, looking back on it, that can be taken out of context. Like the first couple comics ain't that great. So I bring Katt up first. After I just said this, the show's going to start out slow. I just said this on stage. Katt goes up, and he kills it, kills the room. And the first thing he said was, did this motherfucker just say this show's going to start slow? Terrible Katt impersonation. And then he gets done, and he did that joke that Cedric and him are saying it wasn't stolen, it was stolen. That Biggie joke. Brings the house down, and then he says, good night, y'all. And then right before he says good night, he grabs the mic and he goes, how's that for the Super Bowl? So I go up, and I went, okay, he took that completely out of context, and I explained myself to the audience, tell a couple jokes. I get off, pull Katt aside, tell him I didn't mean no disrespect by that. It was just the last 3 weeks, the first couple comics went up slow, and I basically just said, my bad. I didn't mean to bring you up like that. That was wrong on my part. And it was squashed. But even back then, Katt had a chip. Like, man, you ain't going to – and I can see it. I'd be like, if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, all right. Now, I would just go up and rip and then get off. Katt's different. Katt went up and ripped and goes, how's that for the Super Bowl? But clear out of context. And I remember – there was another night on this Monday night at the Improv. Dave went up, and Dave went up right before me, and Dave was notorious for going long. And he went like, I don't know, 30 minutes, and then I went up after him. By the time I went on stage, there was no energy left. There was a room that holds like 200 people. There was 50 people left. And I still went up and did my 50. And this one guy just goes, boo. Now, I didn't get booed. It was one guy on the side went, boo. And him and his buddy were there every week. And I kind of went in on him. But when you're going in on somebody and nobody's in the room and the room's flat, you don't know if you're getting them or not. So the next week I go up, and same night, I go up earlier in the night, and I see those same 2 dudes. And I went all the way in on the one dude. And him and his buddy were laughing and stuff. And they actually was cool. Afterwards, they was cool. I killed that night. I see him. Everybody used to hang out at the bar afterwards at the Improv on Mondays. I see him at the bar. He came up, and he came up like dapping me, like, yo, you got me, man. Last week, I go, it was just flat. He basically was like, you came back. And I'm glad that guy took it like that. Like, it was just all in fun. So it was cool. It was cool interaction. But it's just that different personalities, different things. I know that story didn't have a lot to do with Dave, but it's just, I mean, I don't know. I see both sides of it, but it's interesting. Watch the Chappelle D-Ray thing. And here's the thing, too, since we're talking about stealing and things like that. I did not a bit. I did something on my podcast last week where I said Shaq, when I did Shaq's podcast, his house was so big I got lost in it. And I said the only two houses I've ever been, I couldn't find my way out of a room, was Shaq's house and then Quincy Jones' house I got lost in a long time ago. And just for the record, I see people saying, what were you doing at Quincy's house? What was that? Because there's the joke I've been telling and the story I told on here about the Hollywood exec that tested me earlier in my career. It was not Quincy Jones, so we can end that speculation right there.